There is a quiet revolution happening right above our heads. And no, it's not just about slightly newer planes. It's a total reimagining of how we fly, and it's all being powered by hybrid electric technology. This isn't some far-off dream. It's a transformation that's happening right now, reshaping everything from how you might get to work to the future of the battlefield. So let's dive in. Okay, so flying cars, right? And these battlefield super drones? For decades, they felt like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But what if I told you that promise is finally becoming a reality? The tech to make it happen isn't stuck on a drawing board anymore. Guess what? It's already in the air. And look, this isn't some tiny niche experiment we're talking about. This is a massive economic shift. The market for hybrid drones, or UAVs, is on track to grow by over 15% every single year. That kind of growth is a huge signal that a major technological wave is here. So what's the secret sauce driving it all? Well, at the heart of it all is a technology called Hybrid Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing, or VTOL for short. It's pretty brilliant, actually. It combines two power sources. It uses these powerful, quiet electric motors for the really tough parts of flying, like taking off and hovering, and then it switches over to an efficient fuel engine to cruise for long distances. You really get the best of both worlds. All right, so where's the first place you and I are actually going to see this stuff in action? Well, it could be in something that affects millions of us. The daily grind of the commute. That dream of the urban air taxi is moving from a cool idea to a real thing, and it's all built on this hybrid electric foundation. Now, in the city, the real star of the show is the eVTO. These aircraft are built from the ground up for urban life. Since they can take off and land straight up and down, just like a helicopter, they don't need giant runways. That means they can pop up from rooftops or tiny landing pads, making them absolutely perfect for getting around a crowded city. And I want to be super clear, this is not some pie-in-the-sky dream for 20 years from now. This is happening right now. Just look at what happened last year. Beta Technologies flew more than 100,000 nautical miles. Joby pulled off its first piloted transition. That's the incredibly tricky switch from hovering to flying forward like a plane. Archer is up at 10,000 feet, and Wisk's autonomous taxi has flown without a tether. This is real, tangible progress, and it's happening fast. And we're not talking about test flights out in the middle of nowhere either. Beta Technologies is flying its aircraft into some of the busiest, most complex airspace on the planet, like New York's JFK. Listen to what their CEO, Kyle Clark, said about it.
The stakes are just incredibly high. There are no do-overs when you're landing next to a 747.
Now, here's what might be the most important part. The regulators are actually getting on board. The FAA in the US has kicked off a special pilot program specifically to speed up getting these eVTOLs into the system. This lets companies get crucial real-world data and, get this, it might even let them start flying cargo for money before they're fully approved for passengers. That is a huge step forward. Okay, so we've talked about your commute. Now let's completely shift gears. That same technology that could be flying you over traffic jams is also creating the next generation of military hardware. We're leaving the civilian sky and heading to the contested battlefield, where these hybrid drones are becoming the new apex predators. To really get just how big of a leap this is, you have to look at the old versus the new. Think about legacy drones like the MQ-9 Reaper. They need long, exposed runways. These new hybrid drones, they can launch from practically anywhere, no runway needed. They're also way quieter, have a lower heat signature, which is great for stealth, and they can stay up for days, not just hours. And believe me, a whole new arms race of innovation is kicking off. You've got Anduril's Omen drone, which can carry 3 to 5 times more stuff than its competitors. General Atomics' Ghost is aiming for a mind-blowing 60 hours of flight time. And then there's Northrop Grumman's XRQ-73, part of a fast-track DARPA program to go from an idea to a flying plane in just 20 months. So if we break it down, you can see how each company is playing to its strengths. Anduril is all about that vertical takeoff and carrying heavy loads. General Atomics is pushing the absolute limits of endurance, and Northrop Grumman is focused on pure speed of development. But look at the one thing they all have in common, that hybrid electric core. Okay, so why is this such a game changer for the military? Well, think about it. You can launch these things from a tiny ship, from a clearing in a forest, not just from a massive, vulnerable airbase. They can hang out over an area for days at a time, providing constant surveillance with sensors that used to require a much bigger and way more expensive crewed airplane. That frees up pilots for other critical missions. All right, let's pull back from the specific planes and drones and look at the big picture. We've seen how this works for civilians and for the military. But what does it all mean when you put it together? We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry that is fundamentally reshaping our skies. The numbers here, they're just staggering. We're talking about a global market that's projected to just explode. It's going to more than quadruple in the next decade, soaring from around $726 million today to nearly $3 billion by 2034. That is just explosive growth. So, who's buying all this stuff right now? Well, there's a very clear driver. It's overwhelmingly government and defense. We're talking more than 3/4 of the entire market. Right now, their need for longer flight times and constant surveillance is the main engine pushing all of this innovation and investment forward. But of course, the road ahead isn't perfectly smooth. There are some serious hurdles to overcome. Everybody wants more flight time. That's the main driver for sure. But man, these things are expensive up front, and that's a huge barrier. On top of that, you have this crazy quilt of different regulations in different countries, which makes it incredibly hard to operate on a global scale. And that really brings us to the final big picture question we have to ask ourselves. For the very first time, you're going to have autonomous military drones and your friendly neighborhood air taxi sharing the same sky, all born from the exact same technology. So it forces us to wonder, as this new hybrid sky becomes a reality, how are we going to redefine the rules of the air? And in doing so, how will we redefine the very nature of our world?